Welcome to Executives at the Edge, a podcast brought to you by MEF. I'm your host, Pascal Menezes. Join me as we explore thought-provoking perspectives from the leaders and changemakers who are propelling enterprise digital transformation forward. I am really so excited to have Hugo Vliegen. He is from Cisco. He's the VP Product Management and Technical Marketing for the Catalyst WAN product portfolio. Hugo, welcome to Executives at the Edge. And today I believe we're going to cover a lot about network as a service, how Cisco perceives it, what the opportunities are for service providers, and how really Cisco sees NaaS coming to market in these even bigger multinational companies, which is very complex with a hybrid world of clouds and branches and people working from home. So Hugo, welcome. And if you can just give for our listeners a little bit of your background about yourself and really the group that you work in, that'd be appreciated.
Fantastic. So I've been working in product development, almost my whole life, right? And building products. And I've done it for a long time in the networking and the security space, right? And so these days I'm running product management for Catalyst WAN at Cisco.
So Hugo, Catalyst WAN is part of the Viptela line as we know it, as when you inherit, is that the Viptela line, right?
Yeah, I mean, Cisco is in routing, for many years. And 10 years back, give or take, Cisco acquired a company, Viptela, and that has been integrated into the routing stack, right, from Cisco.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. And this includes all routing and SD-WAN, you own all of that?
All routing, all SD-WAN, very small platforms to very large platforms providing aggregation functions as well.
Well, this is very interesting. So you've been around quite a long time. So what are the trends that you're seeing now in networking in general that customers want to adopt?
Yeah, the trends are massive. And if you go and do evolution of wide area networking, right? So my group is working wide area networking. If you go back 20 years ago, it was a very stable world. That was the world of private connectivity. Everybody came to the office. Networks were very centralized, right? There were no local breakouts to the internet. Everything private links and the aggregation was somewhere in a central office or a central data center. And over the last 10 plus years, it has been fun, right? To be honest, there was the wave of the internet coming to the branch office. Then there was the wave as a result of it with SD-WAN. People tried to use private links and internet links. Then we got the wave of Wi-Fi, which was another dynamics. It brought security to the branch offices. We got the wave of cloud, right? So that has been extremely dynamic. And as a result of it, I think it's obvious that networking and security are converging. Why? Because people work from everywhere. Applications can come from everywhere. It's a lot of devices and IoT is coming in. So we see this whole, from all the angles, we see that networking, security integration, working from home. So the WAN is not anymore between the office and a data center, but the WAN is completely dispersed across a fabric. And that's how we have to think. And that's what customer wants as well from that point of view.
And what about in MEF, we're now embarking on NaaS as a blueprint, so network as a service. What's your thoughts on this with Cisco and NaaS and as a technology category?
Yeah, so NaaS in general is that customers, they want an easier way of consuming technology. And that's happening everywhere, right? And as a result of increased complexity, customers are looking for ways like, okay, can I have a cloud experience for how I consume security and network at a combination of this? And interestingly, if I talk to customers, yes, they want easier consumption, but a lot of customers still want some level of control, right? It's not like they want a consumable service and they cannot control anymore how it's architectured and how it behaves. They want some level of control. And that's an interesting adventure. For everybody involved in this thing.
So how does Cisco fit into this NaaS ecosystem?
Yeah, so Cisco is a provider of technologies, right? And like any other technology provider, Cisco is as well being forced by the market in order to adjust and to deliver a lot of these technologies more as a service model. So the days are over that as a technology provider, whether it's Cisco or somebody else, can just come in and say, oh, here you have a box and a manual, please go ahead and install it. And the old days, it was if customers want something easier to consume, you went to a service provider and a service provider creates a managed service around it. And even that is flipping because customers are saying, yes, I still may want to work with the managed service provider, but they first look at the technology vendor. Do they have something technology easier to consume from the get-go, right? Can I go in a browser? Is everything already set up? Is the technology provider, do they provide an SLA, right? So they don't need to construct this whole thing anymore. They don't need to read a manual anymore before they can consume that technology stack. And Cisco has to evolve with that. And Cisco already has, if you look today in SD-WAN, we already provide controllers as a service, as an example. We provide analytics as a service, which customers can consume on demand, right? So that are the steps aligned with the segment of customers we sell into. A lot of enterprises, commercial, mid-market, who are looking for easier ways to consume a lot of these technologies. We're already making those steps, but it's only accelerating.
Now, does the multinationals, these very big, multiple country kind of corporations, do you think they embrace NaaS? Or it's mainly the mid-markets and the smaller enterprises?
No, you will start seeing combinations, right? So I was talking last week to the head of the network security architecture for a very large company, and they already have today, systems in Equinix, etc., where they provide a more agile framework for their network and security, but they are managing themselves. But at the same time, they're not covering all countries. They're saying, hey, Cisco, if you have an option for me to augment my own investment with other places where I can have networking connectivity, right, or security connectivity, security options, yeah, I would augment my investment with things which are available as a NaaS. And if you look at it as well, of our SD-WAN customer base, and traditionally Cisco Catalyst is on-prem, right? SD-WAN on-prem. Meraki SD-WAN is as a given is cloud delivered, but it's going to more commercial and smaller businesses, completely cloud delivered from a controller point of view. But even very large customers, half of them already consuming SD-WAN as a cloud, the SD-WAN controllers as a cloud delivered controller, right? And you start seeing that even large company customers are using for combination of things delivered as a service and other things which are more traditional, where they control the implementation themselves.
So Hugo, what you're really saying is a hybrid cloud for multinationals. I mean, in a way, it's a hybrid model, not hybrid cloud, but hybrid. So they do things on-prem that's strategic to them, and they want as a service for things that are non-strategic. Is that what you're saying, kind of?
Yeah, they have mixed models, and the corporation was talking last week. They said something like, "Well, we have countries which are smaller, and we still need access. Do you have solutions as a service, as a NaaS, in order to cover smaller regions where they're not as pervasively deployed?" Right. So from that you can start reading they want a mixed model.
Interesting. I never thought about this. Very, very good point. What about, does Cisco deliver these cloud services like Meraki, and you do it for, your Catalyst WAN? Do you do it directly to enterprise, as many of these vendors are doing? Or do you go through channels of service providers, or do you have both?
So Cisco hardly ever does anything direct. Right, 99.9% in the SD-WAN and routing business is all through partners, and there's a fair amount to reseller or system integrations. And a lot of the service providers as well act often as a system integration or a reseller. But then there is a huge volume business, especially SMB commercial, but even larger corporations, which are completely, both Meraki and Catalyst are packaged as a managed service.
Interesting. So that is actually good for many of the OTTs, MSPs, MSSPs, and certainly service providers. Didn't know that. Very good model. So obviously NaaS has, the old NaaS was all about connectivity, on-demand connectivity between sites, branch sites, and the headquarters. The new NaaS has now brought in all this automation aspects and cybersecurity part of it and cloud on-ramps and so on. How do you see, what are the advances that Cisco has made in this area of automation, cybersecurity, and what would that feel like it enhances the service provider's ability to bring NaaS to the customers?
Very good. So, if I wake up every day, my mission is really bring the networking and the security portfolio of Cisco together. If you go back historically, network and security were two ships in the night. There was a security department taking care of security problems and functions and services, and there was a networking department. Now, in this day of age, especially if the enterprise is highly distributed, then network and security have to live together. So from a network and security integration, our vision at Cisco is, and we are far down the road to implement that vision, that the network is in the fabric and you can enable security functions on top of it, right? So if you talk about security enforcement, I can define a security policy, but where I enforce it, it can be on-prem, it can be in the cloud, it can be close to a workload, or it can be very close to device or a user. So our view is that the network is very pervasive and security functions are enforced on that fabric. Now, your other question is how much has Cisco done with orchestration? And I think we already live in an API world. So with the acquisition of Viptela, we really up-leveled our game in terms of software-defined, controller-based, and all our features today are basically controllable through APIs. And that allows us to give, especially the service providers, but as well increasingly the enterprise, a tool that they don't need to use a GUI anymore, right? For some aspects, they may use a GUI, but they use APIs which can be embedded into larger orchestration systems or communicate with other tools across the enterprise. So we have the capabilities as a result to massively orchestrate systems and satisfy that need in the NaaS world for these type of models, very agile models.
Yeah, and you also delivered many aspects of automation orchestration. If I remember, you've been doing that for quite a while you bought, I can't remember the company for Yang, and then you delivered all your orchestration systems through that Yang company.
Yeah, we bought a company, TailF.
Yes.
And that is, at Cisco is called Cisco Network Services Orchestration. And that is massively used for SP infrastructure and increasingly is used as well for my type of devices, which in the NaaS world, of course, CPE, it is a customer premises equipment. So you have service providers who are using NSO, right? Cisco Network Service Orchestrator, right, based on all these Yang models and APIs under the hood, right? Which allows somebody to orchestrate these very complex systems, especially for the NaaS world, for the MSP world. Got it.
And you talked about networking, cybersecurity coming together. That's a very critical, how you wake up thinking about that. So SASE's become the hot cloud delivery technology. When you think about cybersecurity and networking coming together, does that mean you have a counterpart in the SASE side? And literally SASE incorporates SD-WAN. So by SSE, ZTNA is all part of that SASE. So you have a counterpart that you're working together on a cloud delivery model that brings the cloud aspect of SASE?
Totally. So where we are is, yes, I work with my peer who is responsible for cloud security. I work with my peers who are responsible firewall technologies. And we have the firewall embedded on the Meraki and the Catalyst, right? And Cisco has separate firewall appliances, but they become very consistent in terms of behavior. And then as well, in terms of cloud security, we make sure that we interoperate as well with a cloud security stack so that you can create a single solution and customers can decide whether they execute the security on a Catalyst CPE device or router or SD-WAN device, or you execute that security within the cloud. So there's different models which you basically can present to customers.
In fact, everybody was talking about cloud security, SASE, cloud, and I agree with you completely that it's a hybrid world. There are security functions in the enterprise that will be in corporate sides, and maybe remote workers will use pure SASE from the cloud only, and there's variations of all these side things, including as the enterprises also have security functions in their hyperscaler clouds, IaaS, and so on. They all have to be integrated too. So do you have that integration with functions in IaaS that belong to Cisco also that sits in the hyperscalers too, and they all integrate and work together?
Yeah, there are different options, but the fabric, the SD-WAN fabric, can extend completely into the cloud, right? And it can as well do the service discovery to be able to ensure the services are chained between the network and between security and between other functions as a controllable from one GUI, where you can go in and you establish all of that fabric and extend it into all these functions living within the cloud, whether it's networking or whether it's security as well.
Got it. So Cisco, what do you think from Cisco? What is NaaS to you? I mean, in MEF, we've defined NaaS as on-demand, connectivity, this overlay, which is SD-WAN predominantly, matched and blended with cybersecurity, and then cloud on-ramps to all kinds of clouds, not just IaaS clouds or PaaS clouds or SaaS clouds, but now AI clouds and even SASE clouds and so on. So what do you define NaaS from a Cisco point of view? Is it, obviously rapid automation and so on. How do you see it?
So NaaS, in my view, is you have ready-to-go functions from a technology provider, which you can use, right? So there's nothing to construct. So if you take the cloud delivered controller in Cisco, you basically can go to a browser and you can start setting up your network. You start using that controller. So that's the foundation of NaaS. Whether I have a cloud security function or I have a controller function, and I can from a desk through a browser, I can set up and configure that network, and I can start consuming that functionality. That's the definition of NaaS, and it's all about, I don't need to construct things anymore. I can start consuming it right away, and I get a very agile proposition from a technology vendor. Obviously, there is a delivery model around it. A lot of customers still need partners, right, in order to do the design work, the sizing, and come up with recommendations how much you need from what of all these different services provided by the likes of Cisco. And then obviously you need still migration services to get things running. You need people to work through the trouble tickets and the escalations, etc. That is not going away, right?
Got it. So how do service providers now differentiate in this new world of NaaS? How do you see that? Do they have we think about NaaS and they have to buy equipment, then they have to amortize it, but yet offer a very different commercial model. Not sign up 5-year or 3-year contracts, try to get into maybe most of 1-year contract, but mostly a monthly subscription or pay as you go or all variations of that. How do you see service providers now not only handle the commercial model, which is complex, but how do you see them differentiating in this NaaS-centric world with all these over-the-top MSPs, MSSPs getting involved?
On. So one is that as a technology provider, you can only package technology as such that is easier to consume and that is more agile, right? Now, most customers still will look at somebody to deliver the service. And there are different levels of how much a customer wants. Do they want only to contract somebody for the design and installation, and the customer itself, they are having people on staff who are operating the network. But in many cases, you will see as well customers want another entity, a service provider especially, to operate the network as well. That is not going away. And service providers can differentiate themselves to basically have an awesome service delivery experience in a modern world. That is one. Being far more agile. The technology is more agile, easier to consume, and service providers can actually leverage that they take these technologies from vendors like Cisco and provide a awesome experience on top of it in terms of how the services are being delivered in combination with co-management, right? You see increasingly, yes, customers want to outsource and they want somebody else to operate that service, but at the same time, it is easier for them to co-manage aspects of that service. The other thing is customers want optionality, right? So yes, you can say everything is being controlled by the hyperscalers or the up-and-coming cloud security providers, but the enterprises will never, the larger ones, they have a far more complexer world. And on the network level, the network can be the Switzerland in order to stitch multiple services from different providers together. And it's not just cloud-based services, but as well security-based services. And the service provider can create an experience across the multiple vendors, right? Where things are still logically come together in an easy-to-use fashion. So I think even there is a huge opportunity for service providers who are reinvent themselves to actually take advantage of this market and upsell more, not only networking services, but start upselling security services, compliance services, which are just running on top of these various services delivered as a service technology stack.
Well said, Hugo. And I want to thank you for participating in this episode in Executives at the Edge. I can't emphasize how really powerful what you've talked about really helps our members at MEF and all the service provider community, that there is a way to really differentiate and make a difference and modernize. So I really commend you for everything that you've talked about and what Cisco's journey is. So thank you, Hugo, for being on the show, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Pascal, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us for Executives at the Edge. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe today. Share online a review. Find all our episodes on your favorite podcast platform and at MEF.net.